Oh, perfect. Okay. And then.
Giving out roses. I guess so. Fuck.
I know, right?
Yes or yes. Yes or yes. I'm gonna finish the lap. What's your name, bro?
Oh wow.
We'll be okay. We'll be okay. Yeah. All right.
Udah on apa enggak?
Hi. See you. Like this? Like this?
Yeah.
So we go. All right, everyone. All right, we're ready to get started. We are ready to get started. So take a seat. Take a seat. Take a seat, everyone.
Where's the...
Yeah. All right. So does everyone want to we're gonna get started, everyone. Everyone, we're gonna get started. So do you want to take a seat? Do you want to take a seat if you're joining? Yeah. Sean, are you gonna work or do you want to come and sit at the front? All right. We are ready to go. So welcome everyone. This is the weekly AI meetup at BWork. We talk through some of the news. We demo some stuff that has happened in the world of AI. We demo some products, some interesting use cases of AI, and if we get time at the end, we talk through some research papers. So we've got an interesting meeting lined up today. I'm going to talk through a little bit about the state of AI and businesses, and kind of what I learned from being on site with a client in Dubai. And we're also going to be talking about deep research as well. So what is deep research? How could you utilize that? What are some of the use cases that we can actually use it for? And we're going to do a bit of a deep dive into Clay as well, and we're going to talk through some of the things with that. I'm also going to demonstrate a bit of a lead magnet. So I'll tell you what a lead magnet is if you don't know what it is. That I've developed for my website. Which I think is pretty exciting, pretty cool. And of course, we're going to get the opinions of all of the amazing talent and experts in the room. So we'll start with a bit of an introduction. So who am I? I'm Harry Verity. I am a former tech journalist. I started off writing for papers like The Guardian, and Newsweek, and Reader's Digest. Now I'm fully immersed in AI. I've got an AI consultancy business, AI to the world. And essentially I help businesses implement AI, understand AI all around the world, and essentially bring AI to the world. So let's go around the room, I guess, and do a little bit of an introduction. Chris, did you want to go first? Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. I'm Chris. I'm a freelance web developer. I live here in Bali. My interest in AI is perhaps a business opportunity, or at the very least, helps me with something in my life, which I think is pretty likely with AI.
Amy, do you want to go next?
Sure. Hey everyone, I'm Amy. I used to work in tech, now I do not. I'm an entrepreneur. I identify as AI curious. Happy to be here.
I love that word so much.
Sure. Hi everyone, my name is Dan. My background is mostly in affiliate marketing, online business, and I'm interested in AI for things like sales funnels and lead magnets.
Perfect.
Hey guys, my name is Niels. I'm a IT consultant and trying to grow myself.
Good to hear. Yeah. Yep.
Helps my life.
Perfect.
I'm a little bit down. I work in the crypto industry, but I want to kind of merge it with the AI, so how will it run? And it's to learn, I guess.
Good to see. Flo, do you want to go next? There we go. Yeah. I remember you talking about this, yeah. About 2 years ago, you were coming to the meetings. Yep. When AI was a small niche kind of nerd topic 2 years ago. So, yeah, a lot's happened since then. Okay.
On the street, marketing background, a lot of work in innovation, very interested in AI. Just at the start of that.
A little bit.
Hi, I'm Bradley. I'm a luxury brand agency. Influencer, so they continue to use the clothing, video generation, live streaming, conversation models, all that kind of stuff. So, yeah.
Love it. We've got some stuff for you today as well. We're also going to talk about long form and YouTube as well, how you can use long form AI. We've talked about short form in AI, so we're going to talk about how you can do long form videos entirely AI generated as well.
Hi guys, this is Martin. I'm from REI. I'm an AI developer, and we are working on Egypt AI platform chat size that automates all sorts of automations through chatbots that you could embed Facebook, Instagram, and all. So we might talk with you about your influencer supervision at some point.
That's all good, man. That's all
All right, thanks.
Yeah, Brad, first day here at Consultation. I've been more than apps as a website developer, but with some side projects in AI, a few intensely. That's it. Also, I play paddle and golf, so if anyone
Hello everyone, my name is Rahul. I graduated uni a couple of years ago, so I studied computer science and I'm from a technical background. And now I run an AI automation agency, so I've been up for the past year or so, helping businesses leverage tools like Meetup, Zapier, and building out their CRM systems as well.
Yeah, I'd love to hear that. It's worth talking to Lucien as well. Lucien is very big into NAN, and good to hear you've got a computer science background as well. Hopefully, a bit later on, we might be joined by Alan. Alan is senior machine learning engineer at to call him out. Very smart guy. So he might join us. We might also be joined by Mix, who worked on VO1, some of the video generation models. So yeah, good to see that there's some more technically minded people in the room as well. Yeah. Good to hear. To go to you next.
Hey everyone, my name is Gordon.
Yeah.
I'm visiting from Hong Kong. I run Dell's systems engineering team in
Yeah.
Egypt and just looking for best leads.
Ah,
A bit of fun.
good to hear. Yeah. Yeah, it'd be super interesting to hear your perspective for sure. Comparing obviously what happened with the dot-com bubble in the 90s to what's happening now. I'm sure you're going to have some interesting perspectives, so excited to hear what you guys think. Yeah. A little bit. A little bit. Lucien? And you guys on the side, do you want to remain anonymous or do you want me to formally introduce you?
My name is Jean.
Yeah.
I'm from Venezuela. I'm a coach.
Good.
And I like this AI thing to integrate it with my business.
A
And
bit.
I'm curious about it.
Okay.
Hello, I'm Tristan. Nice to meet you guys. I do like dating coaching. I teach you guys how to talk to girls. In 7 months, I went from 40,000 to 1 million followers. Now I'm looking to expand with AI, like thumbnails, content creation. So Rick's brought me here.
What platform?
Instagram is my platform. Yeah.
A bit of it. So yeah, good to hear we've got a few influencers in the room today. Riggs.
So my name's Riggs. I'm a systems thinker. I do transformation design for companies, going through complex change, and obviously there's a lot of that going on with companies trying to implement AI. And I'm currently working with a client in Botswana, in Africa. And when I first started with them, they were all pen and paper. They didn't have even emails and Google Drives or anything like that. So I'm now kind of setting myself a challenge of trying to take all these workflows that I've been building out over the last 12 months and turning them into AI agents. And potentially that's a product that maybe we could distribute around Africa. So just kind of experimenting a little bit and seeing how I go.
A bit.
Yeah.
Bene.
Hey guys, I just work for a tech company as well, and now I do business as a consulting, and I want AI to help each and every my kind of important growing.
And you, my man? And last but not least, our main man, Sean.
I'm a youth publisher and I was very excited about automation, but now I'm running out of things to automate. And most sort of valuable level, and now I'm about how many things we do in parallel. So how many things we do at the same time with each other.
Yeah. Well, maybe one thing you can automate, we've maybe learned something new today, is about the deep research API, which we're going to be talking about a little bit in a minute. So just a few announcements from me. First of all, yeah, thank you so much for coming. We have started asking people to register now on a Google form. So the reason for this is because obviously we're growing, getting bigger, and we want to make sure that the meetings are tailored to the knowledge that's in the room. So I'll probably be giving gentle reminders about that throughout the week. Obviously, it doesn't make sense if we have a room full of researchers to talk about some kind of more maybe basic stuff, and also, if we have a room full of people who aren't researchers, then it makes no sense to talk about research papers. So, of course, I've also set up an announcements group in WhatsApp to better inform people, if the meeting has to be postponed, and to remind people when the meeting is coming up. We are going to be talking primarily about the technology, so if we veer too much towards is AI going to take over the world and destroy everyone, I will try to rein us back in to the subject matter. But yeah, let's talk through some stories that have been happening this week. So the first thing I want to talk about is the deep research API. So how many of you have used ChatGPT's deep research feature? Yeah, so quite a lot of you. So you've seen how powerful it is. And so for a while, OpenAI has actually not released an API for this. They said that this is, they wanted to look at the safety elements of it first, actually. They thought that perhaps it was too powerful to actually put it out there. And they have now just released it about 10 days ago. And so, why is this important? Well, obviously it means that you can now automate, complex research. If you think about some of the use cases for deep research that you've been using on your own in ChatGPT, or maybe you've used Claude's extended research feature, you can now do this programmatically. It will be very expensive, which I'm gonna come on to, but it's very, very powerful, and it means that you can also embed this now into apps. So perhaps in the next few weeks, in the next few months, you're going to be SaaS products coming out that are even more powerful than what is available at the moment, with all kinds of use cases. So if you wanted to do deep research into a particular topic, or a lead, for example, if you wanted to outreach someone, which we'll be talking about in a minute, then obviously this is going to be an amazing tool that you can use. It is built on top of O3. So now in the API, in the responses endpoint, you can see you can select O3 deep research, but you can also select O4 mini deep research as well. So it's lightweight, faster, and ideal for latency sensitive use cases. The system card, which is the document, the kind of technical document that OpenAI puts describing this, has been available since February, but obviously that now takes on a greater use with the release of the API. So it's very straightforward to set up if you're kind of into coding. It's a simple few lines of sort of SDK code to authenticate. I will be interested to see whether this is available through things like OpenRouter, which allows you to sort of route certain models to it. You can also use it as part of the MCP, as part of Model Context Protocol as well. So the fact that you can use this, the fact that you can integrate this, means that you can start building some really complex automations now that can really research the internet for 20 or 30 minutes. This is a reasoning model that's been essentially fine-tuned. You wanted to say something on that?
That was going to be my question.
Yeah.
What would be like a real-life example of it being used?
Yeah, we're going to go on to that next, actually. That's a very, very good point. So how might you go about using this? So like me saying now there's this deep research tool here, and you're nerding out about all this code. How do you actually use it? So one of the things you could do is you could use it in Clay. So we could, for instance, set up a table in Clay, and we could do an API call. So is everybody familiar with Clay? Do you know what Clay is? Clay is a sales tool, and essentially what it does is it allows you to bring in a list of leads, whether that be from LinkedIn, whether it be from its own internal database, or whether that be from anywhere on the internet. You could even go to a jobs board, scrape a CSV, scrape some data from there, bring it into Clay, and then it essentially allows you to do sales activities to enrich that data using AI. So it's like an Excel spreadsheet, and you would have maybe 100, maybe 1,000 rows in there, maybe even 10,000 rows of different companies and different businesses, and you can do individual calls to these businesses, and you can write messages with it, you can gather data. So you could, for instance, bring up a list of 1,000 influencers, and then you could start doing some research on them. Where else on the internet are these researchers? So this tool is previously integrated with AI tools. You've previously been able to use O3 with it. You've also been able to use 4.1 for copywriting, for Gemini, for all of the models. If you have their most premium plan, I think it's about $300, $350 a month. Maybe someone will correct me. You can actually do your own API request. So that means anywhere on the internet that has an API that's publicly available, you can actually bring that data into Clay. So you could start using deep research today to enrich some of the data that you have on Clay from prospects. So if you think about how you might be using this, let's say you've got a meeting booked with somebody who's already a warm lead, you're using this data to actually find out about them at a meeting before you enter that meeting, and how much information you can gather about them so that you appear knowledgeable and competent in that meeting. Now imagine what that looks like if even before you've met them and you're writing an email, you can gather all of this data on it, and you can ask AI to essentially go away and do this research for 20 minutes. Now, having said that, there are some limitations to it. One of the limitations is going to be the cost of it. So it costs $20 per million input tokens and $40 per million output tokens. So for those sort of using AI tools every day, that might mean something. For those that don't, I'm going to put that figure in context. So if we go back to the cookbook, the press release from OpenAI, I believe they do mention the cost of it here somewhere, or they have a costing document. Let me find it. Costing. API pricing, sorry. So here we go. So if you want to find out how much does it cost to make these API calls, you can go on OpenAI's website, and they literally list every single model and how much it costs. Now we measure the cost of AI in tokens. So tokens are they're kind of like the currency of AI models. So when you write a message to an AI in an input token, what's happening in the back end is those messages are converted into numbers. And essentially what's going on is a really complex mathematical calculation. It's like a prediction machine. And the way that we cost them out is that we decide the input. So how many words or how many characters you give it, and then how many characters you get as an output on the end. And that's how we cost up API calls. So if you're running a business, this is really, really important to know. If you're using any model by OpenAI or Claude or any of the what we call closed source models in your development, it's really important you understand the cost. And if we look at GPT 4.1, which is really the sort of leading model for cost writing, we can see input is $2 and the output is 50 cents. So your total cost for 1 million tokens, and 1 million tokens is probably a fair few paragraphs of content. You're only spending $8. So on Clay, I think $8 would probably get you probably a list of 500 or 600 messages. So then if we compare that to using O3 Deep Research, $10 and $40, you're going to be spending a lot. Okay, you could easily spend $200 or $300, maybe even $500 if you wanted to use deep research on a list of 1,000 leads. Now you have to weigh up the expense on what it is you're actually getting. If you compare it to other AI models, of course it's expensive, but think about how much that would cost if you were to hire an entire team to go out and do that research for you. It would be an exorbitant amount of money. You'd have to hire a team full time to get the level of depth of research that you could get. And it's also not to say that this doesn't even hallucinate. This can still hallucinate and make mistakes. O4 Mini Deep Research is significantly cheaper. It's only $2 per input token and only 50 cents per output token. So that's really interesting. O4, but O4 is of course still a preview. It's still a mini model. And if we were to call O3 itself and not use deep research, that would cost us $2. So they're really putting a premium on using O3 deep research. So as business people or people who are using it, you have to make that calculation. Like, how far do we need this model in our use case compared to the actual cost of it? Is it worth paying this amount of money? And I would suggest to you, if you're doing sales outreach, you're doing cold email outreach, or maybe you're doing outreach via Instagram, that it's really going to depend on what it is you're selling. If you're selling something that's relatively low ticket, it makes no sense to spend $500 or $600 on deep research on prospects. Has anyone got any use cases that come to mind about deep research that they've thought about in their business that they could use? Yeah.
This is a question.
Please. Yeah.
How about using it in Cursor? Is it safe to use there?
That is an interesting question. I would imagine, I don't know the answer to whether it's integrated or not. We can find out. Cursor, O3 Deep Research, or we can bring up Cursor. I would imagine if they haven't integrated it yet, that they will be integrating it very soon. But what do you mean by is it safe? Like yeah.
Is it safe to code like other models?
So I probably wouldn't use this model to code. I think people would I guess you would just use normal O3 to code. Like, I wouldn't see the advantage of using a deep research model. I really feel like the deep research models are designed to go away and research something, to find something out. I feel like O3 is perhaps designed for code. Codex is actually built on top of O3. It's like a fine-tuned version of O3. Alan, do you want to take a seat at the front, just for you? Yeah.
To do research on certain features,
Yeah.
With documentation and how to build it.
Yeah, sure. If you wanted to go away and ask it to really, really research how to make the plan, then I could see it might have a use case, but then I would question the difference between O3 and O3 deep research and what, remember, the price jump is significant. So you would need to trial that yourself, I would suggest. I would not go away and spend a huge amount of money on it, but I would maybe trial it for one thing and then compare the result and try to figure out if it's worth actually paying for. There's also one of the things you have to think about. You have to think strategically. So this new technology comes along, you have to think, well, am I actually going to pay for this? Is it worth it for me? Does it actually solve the problem I'm trying to solve? Or would a lesser model actually solve that for a cheaper price? So OpenAI have got all of these models now, a lot of models, and so that's one of the key things you have to really think about. Please.
Hypothetically, like I do dating coaching, and
sure.
The person that signed up with their email,
Yeah.
could I put their email into the deep research and find out what other websites they subscribe to?
So that's a very, very good question. Yeah. So I love the way this is going. Can you use it for dating? That's another conversation. For this, yeah. If they're using a company email, then you would have their domain. So if you have their domain, then you can research their website and you can use that to try to find information about them. Could you find out what other websites they've subscribed to? That depends if it's publicly available. So anything that's publicly available data that they've put about on a website, you could find. Remember, this doesn't necessarily go into social media posts unless they're publicly available again. So if they've got a private Facebook page, it's not going to find this. I'm unsure whether this would find an Instagram post. It could certainly find publicly available LinkedIn posts that they've put out. Okay, I've used that. Yeah, even before deep research came out, you could use O3 and it will get that information. So yeah. Anyone else have any questions on deep research? Alan, I'm interested in your opinion. So we're talking about the API for deep research, which ChatGPT kind of said that they weren't going to release. And they have gone ahead and put it out there as an API. It's very expensive. It's $20 per million input tokens and $40 per million output tokens. What do you think of it? What do you think is going on? Why do you think that they put that out at this time? Because obviously it's been available within ChatGPT since February. We're now in the end of June. Well, it was the end of June when they put out the API, and there's obviously really a 4-month gap between it, which is like an age in AI. Why do you think that they brought it out at this time? Yeah.
It's an interesting question. Yeah. I think probably, is there like a microphone that you're using?
We are not using a microphone this week. I don't think so. You have to raise your voice a little bit. Yeah.
No.
Okay.
Okay. Well.
Yeah.
I'll try to be louder. Well, I think they're looking for another revenue stream. Like they made it work. Like first, ChatGPT was also a research preview. They released ChatGPT as something that people can play with. And once they released it internally within ChatGPT, the deep research, they realized, okay, it's good enough to make another step with that. So they made another investment and they released it as API. Whether it will come in handy and people will be using it, I think it's unclear yet. And probably at the start, the prices are higher because they haven't optimized their infrastructure for that. That's why the prices.
Sure. So you think the price will probably come down within like a month or two, or not?
Depends probably on the usage. If,
Okay.
if people will be using it, then there will be an effect of scale, and they will be able to, even by releasing it, they will probably see some patterns how to optimize the inference.
Okay. Cool. And what do you think about using it for coding? So we had a question earlier, someone saying, could I use this for coding? Do you think deep research has any use case for coding? Because obviously we already have O3, which is significantly cheaper. We looked at the pricing and we said, O3 is only $2 per million input tokens, but O3 deep research is $20 per million input tokens. So there's a huge price difference between them. What do you think about using it for coding, or do you think that's kind of overkill?
Well, so the advantage would be that we would look at multiple sources on the internet and then cross-referencing the sources to get a better quality code. So I don't know how much that is a problem right now. Like what I believe is happening that is the most beneficial is like if we can quickly iterate on our failures. So like When I work on something, I deploy it or I run it, I get the feedback whether it ran correctly or not. And like after several iterations, I can get there to the place where I wanted to be. Now we're not talking about like constantly iterating like the background agents do, but we're talking about a big preparation phase before doing the first run. If I understand correctly the idea of deep research for coding. What problems would that be? Well, I mean, for like complicated logical and mathematical problems, we have reasoning models. Whether deep research closes any gap, I think we would. I don't have that use case in my head right now. There are probably some where you would want to cross-reference multiple sources, but I can't see that. I can't see a benefit of using deep research versus using a reasoning model.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense, and that was kind of the answer that I gave as well. I didn't really see what the difference is between them. Chris, did you want to ask something? Yeah. Huh? Okay. Lucia, yeah. When was the API publicly released? I believe the 25th of June. So, yeah. It does seem, to my mind, that the most obvious use case for it now would be for research, for business meetings, when you have a meeting with somebody lined up, and also, as I said, in Clay for sales. This seems the most potent use case that I can see, so long as, of course, it provides accurate data. I'm curious about what other use cases there will be, because now it's out there. I'm certain that there are people sitting in a basement somewhere, who have been waiting for the last 3 months to deploy their SaaS that's going to have running deep research API in the back end. Do you want to say something? Yeah.
So I want to understand a little bit more about how deep research actually.
Sure.
So does it do a lot of thinking on what is previously said, or is it more so that it's doing a lot of research? So is it more accurate, or does it search more?
Yeah, so I'll try and give you a sort of an overview answer, and then I might defer to Alan to explain in a little bit more detail how it actually works. It's a very good question. My understanding of it is of reasoning models is that they do a lot of what's called reinforcement learning, and people are going to correct me, but I think essentially this is where it creates a plan first, and it's trained on how to essentially make those plans, and then those plans are then sort of fed into it. So it has a better understanding of what it actually kind of needs to do. So essentially there's a lot of kind of post-training that's done over the top of it from that's different from say 4.0 or 4.1. And so that's why we call them sort of reasoning models, and we sort of say that they're thinking, that there's a sort of a step-by-step that it goes through, and it's sort of giving you live information about what it plans to do. So it's together. Alan, did you want to maybe say a few words about kind of how it works, an overview? Am I right there? It's basically reinforcement learning, and it plans more. You say is the essence of what it does in a non-technical way.
Yeah, I remember engineers from Google speaking in the podcast that
Yeah.
they applied a lot of reinforcement learning to that. How I see that is, like you mentioned, reasoning model, making more search, taking more sources, and reasoning across all this. So putting everything into the chain of thought, so like all these thoughts that it has, connecting it with all the sources and data from these sources, and trying to make sense out of it. So it delivers a report that is more grounded and more well thought than like just a standard answer.
Yeah. And it is important just to emphasize as well that when we're talking about these models of thinking, these models are reasoning, it's still in essence calculus that it's doing in the back end. It's just more complicated calculations that it's doing. It's not a synthetic being that's actually going out there and thinking. It's just more probability calculations that are being done on the top of it before it actually goes out and returns an answer. So yeah. Well, shall we move on and talk about something else? So I wanted to talk about several things. First of all, I thought it would be useful to talk about kind of what I learned from a sort of site visit and from my work, obviously outside of Bali in Dubai. I was on site with a client last week, very illuminating, you know, doing some consulting work and also looking at how we can implement AI in their business. And I really think that the knowledge we have in this room for people that come to these meetings is very, very high. People are very, very AI aware, and people are very curious about implementing things. There are a lot of businesses who aren't at that place yet. And I think it's fair to say that most businesses are at that stage of where they're just really using ChatGPT in a very basic way, and they haven't really even scratched the surface about understanding the different models that are available to use. And a lot of businesses are still, you know, doing a lot of very, very heavy admin work because this is the way that they have sort of always done things. So I think the businesses that are going to thrive, that are going to be the most successful, are the ones that realize that they can bring on external talent to help them implement AI and use that to actually do more. I think one of the things that I also learned was, and what that I was thinking about, is I think a lot of businesses and a lot of what you hear in the media is AI is going to take people's jobs, and I think that's wrong. I think that AI is actually going to create more jobs in the long term, and I think as we reduce that workload, the sort of human intuition is always to do more. And I see a lot of very successful businesses who they want to reduce the burden of the workload, not because they necessarily want to cut and go back, but because they actually want to do more. They want to expand their team, they want to take on more clients, and they see AI as a great opportunity to be able to do that. You can see that in a number of different things, right? So you can apply this in terms of some of the sales tools. So we've already talked about Clay a lot, this really powerful AI sales tool. But this in essence could do the job of about 5 SDRs, you know, at once. So an SDR, sales development representative, this is somebody who is essentially emailing, ringing up and booking meetings for a business to lead to a sales call and a demonstration of whatever product or services they're selling. So if we look at that, the traditional model would be an SDR would maybe send, 25 to 50 messages a day, and then would be in charge of following up with them, phoning them, sending follow-up emails, and doing all that research themselves. Those roles are kind of almost being, I guess, replaced or phased out or upgraded to a role, a GTM engineer, they call it now, a go-to-market engineer. And that's somebody who orchestrates all of these many tools and systems to be able to reach, maybe 1,000, 2,000 people a day instead. So they're 10 times 20 puts their output. And we also can see it in terms of automation and things as well, in the way that businesses are using automations to basically reduce the workload of some of the administration people, and then those people are then free up to go and have real life conversations, to build those relationships in person, which is kind of a lot of what people want. When you actually speak to the kind of workers on the ground, that's kind of what they want. They want the burden to be reduced so they can go and establish and build those relationships in person. So I don't really buy the argument that sort of this idea that AI is going to sort of take people's jobs and replace it. I do see that the most successful companies are the ones that are really trying hard to actually 10 times, 20 times their output. But, eventually I do see that we have these leaner, thinner teams, with maybe only 5 or 10 people rather than having to have a team of 30 or 40 people. But I also see we do have a long way to go in terms of reducing that burden of where people are at. I think I mentioned in a LinkedIn post that Flo put out, I don't know if Flo is here, where he went and interviewed the chief officer of Dell, and he said he thinks people are not basically moving fast enough. He thinks people should be moving faster than they are. And I think that can be a very controversial thing to say. Things appear to be moving so fast, but I think it's true. I think we're a long way away from where we could be, and if we got there faster, there's a lot more exciting things that are coming down the pipeline. I think people's work will be more invigorating and more exciting. Yeah.
When you say a long way away, what does that mean to you in kind of like a timeline?
Yes, I think that's a really good question. So if you think about what we're talking about here, we're talking about the API, deep research, we're talking about how you can build these complex automations. You're going to see in a minute when we're talking about how you can use AI a YouTube Shorts, a YouTube long form. There were still people writing social media posts by hand that are not utilizing AI tools. They're not using deep research to do this, but they're perhaps using a very basic version of ChatGPT. So a good example is, companies that don't know there's a difference between the different models with ChatGPT. People think ChatGPT and that's it. And so the challenge is trying to explain to them, actually, there's, as you saw, like 8 or 10 different versions. There's deep research, there's O3, there's 4.1, there's 4.5, there's also Claude, there's also Gemini. And then on top of that, there's various tools that are built on top of these tools. And that these aren't just chatbots you speak with, there's actually an API beyond that, the sales tools that people have got. So you can see the conversation is kind of shifting now towards, rather than people just thinking that AI is this cheap thing and they're not going to investigate it, to starting to get a handle on basic ChatGPT, starting to use that instead of Google as a Google replacement. But we're not seeing any of the fundamental architectural changes in people's maybe day-to-day use case of it. Like the fundamental architecture of the business is not fundamentally changing because of these things. It's just an extra tool that people are using to chat with. And that's really where I see a lot of businesses are at. There's a huge disparity between where some businesses are and others are. And I think that's really where you stand out at the moment, and where you can get ahead of the pack, is if you are really, really up there, utilizing everything that's available, you're keeping on top of AI, and you're thinking about the fundamental architecture of your business and how that can work in this age as new tools come out, and what systems in place you could put in place. Of course, you can't throw the baby out with bathwater every 6 months. That's not going to work. But I think those businesses that are fundamentally thinking about the architecture of their business, those are the ones that are going to be getting ahead. Please.
If somebody wanted to change, like a business owner wanted to change their fundamental archetype, how would you recommend people about that?
It's a good question. I think you need to sit down at a high level. You need to have someone, I'm promoting myself here, but you need to have an AI consultant come in for 2 days and speak to everybody, look at everything that's going on and write a report about it. So you need to do some really, really high level thinking about this. I think AI consultation is almost business development in a way. It's about systems and thinking, high level thinking, what technology exists, this person is doing this thing, how can I enable them to take away the work that they find frustrating? And there's also an error rate that comes with human work as well. If you're asking somebody to go through all these different steps on the system, the chances are they're not going to get it right 100% of the time, whereas AI can. So there's an upsell there, and that you get a lesser error rate, more free time that's available for instance, creating more meetings, for doing more. So I think that's really the start of it, is you need somebody to go in for 2 days who understands the technology and also understands business as well, to look holistically at everything that's going on and how you change it. Obviously, the bigger the business, the harder that is to do. If you've got a business that's got 2,000 people in it, then that's very difficult to do that, and it'd be more fractured because it's happening at a departmental level. But certainly a smaller, medium-sized enterprise, talking to the key players and understanding the architecture of the business and how it can shift, but also thinking about that's going to cause disruption as well. So how can you make those quick wins, those small minor changes that are going to affect the business, in the short term, are going to make it more profitable.
I'm looking for a consultant.
Did anyone else have any more questions about AI and business and AI and consultation? Yeah, Elysium. Yep. Yeah, I will say this. I think Lucia makes some good points. You know, I find that the media has not done a very good job at representing what AI is. And if you come to these meetings a lot, you'll hear me talk about the fact that AI is not a sentient robot. It's the first thing that I will say. Okay, it's not. It's not this crazy sentient robot that's every day getting smarter. One day it's just going to wake up and take everything over. That's not how it works. I also feel that there's been a big hype train about how AI is going to take everyone's jobs, and it's not helpful at all. If you look at previous revolutions, I'd be really interested to hear other people's opinions about what happened in the 90s, because of course we've had this conversation before. We have been here before, and it's true this technology is different, but I don't think that it's helpful for people to be fearful. And if people are fearful that it's going to take their jobs and they're not going to adopt the technology and use it, that's one of the things that I've kind of noticed as well, is that if people feel that this job can just be taken by an AI, then they're not going to use the AI tools. They're going to pretend that they don't know how to use them, or sort of plead ignorance, right? And that can come down to coding, to writing jobs. And so you have to, as I said, I think it goes back to the idea that a business that is going to do well out of this is one that's going to do more, not scale back. And any business that's growing is going to want to increase their client base, not be looking at how do they cut costs all the time. They're just going to be thinking about efficiency. Sean, do you want to go next? Yes.
Where I just think that whole business is going to be replaced by an AI-enabled business. Instead of people losing jobs within existing businesses, whole business is going to be replaced, is my sort of view. And you're hearing from the taxi drivers, and they're saying, no, come on, you won't replace us. But I don't know, I just think it's more fundamental than on a per job basis. It's on an industry basis and a per business basis.
That's a very interesting point. I guess my answer to that is, well, every business needs to go through a transformation to compete. So if you think about, if you took a traditional size business and you said, okay, I want to compete with them today, like you could compete by starting it from scratch and saying we're just going to use AI from the ground up, and that business that's already set up is at a disadvantage because all their systems and their people are ingrained. But that's why I think businesses that are hiring AI consultants are trying to do the right thing, because they are realizing that, okay, we need to implement this, we need to do this, but they're just going to be slower to the game. So there might be a short-term advantage, but I think every business is going to have to go through this process of change and revolution. Such like when the computer revolution happened, I think in the 90s. Yeah. Yeah.
It's just a little part of their focus. But if you ask BYD, then of course they're having a totally different approach. They're designing it in a different way. They're just going to replace legacy businesses.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. What happened in Uber is it didn't just replace the existing market, which was taxis. It also created a new market, because like the users of taxis before was like 10 or 20 years. True, but all the investors in New York taxi medallions lost all their money. All the investors in all these taxi organizations lost all of their money, and then the individual Uber drivers benefited. So all the investors got wiped out, and then.
Yeah, and just to give context to people that don't know Sean has a news publishing business, and he uses AI extensively in it, I guess to write some of the stories and to he's really at the forefront of what he does in terms of news publishing. And I guess you could say you're competing against some of those old titles that are dying, or those people who've got a whole bunch of whole team of stuff. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. But having said that, you have managed to do that, right? Because your business wasn't always this way. So, yeah.
What's the name of your?
Yeah.
My business is called Tech Day, but I just believe that you should try and have like a startup mentality. That's what I'm really trying to say here. It's almost better to have a startup and scratch mentality.
And Yeah. Yeah, and Steve, sorry, did you want to say something there? Yeah. 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 Do you want to just speak up a little bit, Steve? Sorry, we haven't got microphones. Yeah. 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 Sure. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And Steve makes a very good point about checking the citations that sort of AI gives you as well.
I can add to that.
Yeah, please, Alan.
There is like one of the latest directions in that space is neurosymbolic approach, which is like it's not only deep learning and deep learning synthesis, but symbolic guided deep learning synthesis, meaning that AI comes up with the stuff, but it has some symbolic logic that it has to refer to. So I've been doing research in neurosymbolic AI so that we could use it. And for example, AWS already implemented that. They had a really good team working with a professor from Arizona State University, and they deployed that in guardrails, I believe. So when you deploy Bedrock, you can have an actual grounding in a neurosymbolic AI. Really cool feature. You guys can watch about it on YouTube. So then, like whenever AI says something, guardrails automatically check it against the logic in the document that was used as a reference. Bedrock, yeah. Bedrock. Guardrails is like one of the features in Bedrock. Guardrails is one of the features in Bedrock.
Cool. Yeah. Essentially, what you're kind of saying is you can build a framework to reduce the hallucination rate by checking what you've done as well as doing the neurons. Yeah.
Hallucinations is the most major problem that we have with AI.
Yeah.
And there's many industries that will increase its throughput with AI once it's more stable, once it has some grounding.
Sure.
So that's an active area of research to eliminate hallucinations.
Sure. Rick, you get the last word before we move on to YouTube
I
Shorts.
just wanted to add to that, just thinking about these big companies implementing AI. Like I've worked in a lot of big complex transformations, and the rational problems are very easy to solve. They're the easiest to solve, and I think a lot of the problem that they're going to have with the uptake of AI is actually more political and emotional problems about these fears that you're talking about, like who's behind this transformation? Am I going to lose my job? Because these companies have to collaborate a lot because they have these big complex systems and work processes. It's going to require collaboration to implement AI. So
that's a really good point.
That's where the hold up will be.
Yeah, so Rick just said, just for the benefit of everyone, that this is an emotional and political journey you have to go on with the client, as well as a rational journey. If you come to these meetings a lot and you are in this echo chamber, of course implementing AI seems rational and obvious thing to do to increase top line. But a company that isn't immersed in this doesn't see it like that. So as a consultant or somebody helping businesses do this, you have to be that guide and an educator as well, and think very strategically.
They're going to have to essentially be a part of collaborating to replace themselves with, or certain parts of their workflow within the company.
Yeah, I think replacing certain part of their workflow is obviously a better way of
and as
framing
a result,
it. Yeah.
some of that team might lose their job.
Yes.
That's going to be the real challenge.
Yeah, and that's a fair point. It may indeed result in that. Of course, there may be new roles that come up as well. You can sort of reskill yourself. That is the natural way of the...
Systems leadership.
Yeah, exactly. Let's move on and talk a little bit about YouTube. So I want to talk about how you could use YouTube in long form. So to recap, we've talked in the last few weeks about how we could use YouTube to make YouTube shorts. So how you can make a fully AI generated version of yourself and then turn those into shorts. So if we look at my channel, and other people are doing this as well, we can see that obviously I've just started YouTube to try and put my kind of message out there. We've talked before about how, in terms of shorts, my most successful videos have actually been the ones that have been AI generated. So these are not videos of me talking to camera. It's not my voice, and it's not my idea. The idea is generated by Claude. I've taken a still image of me in a podcast studio from another recording, and then what I've done is I've put those through Kling, and my prompt is basically to make my mouth move. I've made a voice clone of myself in 11 Labs, and then I put it all together, and I ask an editor to put some B-roll over the top of it. So they look a little bit like this. Let's see if we can get it up. No, this is a real one. That's not me. That is me. That is me. that is me. Can't even tell the difference anymore. Yeah, this one is definitely.
According to McKinsey, the average employee spends 28% of their week on email. AI can write 80% of business.
So there you go.
It's 11 hours per week back to productive work. Stop letting your team drown in inbox management. Automate your team, focus on the strategic.
So yeah, so these have been doing very well. So having done this, yep, go for it. Yes, the whole video, the idea, the voice, the footage, all AI. Yeah. Well, I mean, it's kind of inbuilt into it, right? The B-roll is not. The B-roll is an editor manually putting it over the top. But the video is one continuous video, and we put B-roll over the top of it. It's not been edited manually. The voice too is AI. Yeah, please. We put all of this together. I've taken a still image of myself in the podcast studio from an actual recording of myself. I've then animated that with Kling for 8 seconds or 10 seconds, I believe the maximum is, and I've said, make it so my mouth is moving. Then I have taken some audio from 11 Labs. Then what I've done is I've used a lip sync model called Sync, S-Y-N-C, and I've put it all together. And then I've had an editor basically put B-roll over the top of it. So you string it all together.
How did you put it together?
CapCut, I think. I think CapCut, yeah, CapCut, yeah. This video is about 10 seconds or so. So the next thing I wanted to talk about is obviously having done short form, my next question was how could I do long form? And so one of the benefits of this as well is, like, why would you want to do this is where I want to sort of frame this on. Like, why would you want to do long form generated by AI? Well, if you think about how much effort and how much time it takes to go to a podcast studio, to sit there and to record it, then to hire an editor to do all the different steps, it takes a long time out of your day to actually do that. And you can't always say the things you want to say exactly right. You might even have a script there, but you have to re-record it 3 or 4 times, and then someone has to actually sort of put it over you. So for short form, this kind of works. So the challenge for me was, like, could we do a long form video? And obviously the challenge with that is it's maybe more obvious for people to see it. So we have put out a long form video that was just generated by AI, and I had no involvement in this video really. I just okayed the idea. So Claude wrote the entire script for this video. So what you're about to see is a long form video, 3 minutes long, and this is entirely generated by AI. And as you can see, we've done sort of 3 long forms so far. This is the recording of the meetings about a couple of weeks ago. That got 3, 4, 5. This was the recording of the Meetup. You see, only a few people cared about Notion and MCP bridges, 43 views. And then this is my best performing video, which is entirely AI generated. So here we go. You can tell or you can't? Yeah. Right, yeah. Yeah. So this is stock footage. So it's a mixture of some AI, some stock footage, and yeah, some of it is Kling and animating it. So yeah, the graphics it can make as well. Obviously, the text generation models are pretty good. So you can see this one. It's kind of animated this a little bit. So I'd like to improve this. So I'm working with the editor who makes these to see how we can basically enable her. But the entire thing is generated by an editor. It has no involvement from me whatsoever, which is really great. So at the start of the week, I can literally just say to her, okay, I want you to make me a video with this script. Can you go away and make it? And then I just need to give her feedback. Okay, can you make the graphics a bit better? Can you make the B-roll a bit better? Maybe we can do some more cuts. So she's sort of been trained on how to do this, and now we're obviously trying to teach her how to make this sort of more efficient. So this is, she's at the cutting edge as a video editor of being able to do this. So, big up to her for basically taking on this technology and being able to do it. So you can see, obviously it's a bit wordy, but then I come back and so really it's only 3 short videos. Once at the start, once every time I make a point, 3 or 4, 10-second clips of me, and then you put B-roll and put a load of things over the top of it. So it's perfectly possible to do this.
Did you record that scene that you're in?
Yeah, that scene that I'm in, I did. That is a picture of me actually recording something. So it's a still image of me.
Oh,
a still image of me, but it's not. It's the voice movements, the mouth, the video footage is not actually me. So you could, in theory, make more images of that like me. I could go into Flux and say, okay, make an AI-generated version of me, and then give that to Kling and get it to generate it and make that. So
was there a reason that you split up those 3 clips in that? Like, was it just because you could only...
There's a limitation with Kling on the length of the video. So so you can only make 10-second videos.
You've got the voice going all the way through, and then you've just chosen 10 or 3.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so just chosen them, and you can use HeyGen as well. I think we're going to experiment next week. We're using HeyGen to see if HeyGen actually produces a better result. There's a bit of a discourse in the chat about HeyGen versus using Kling, and HeyGen looks a bit more natural. I think some people pointed out that Liam Otley, who's another influencer, had been using HeyGen on one of his long form videos as well. So it's it's going. Bradley, did you want to say something?
Yeah, just like
yeah. Sure, let's go back.
It's interesting you said to use one image of yourself.
Yep.
But like you lean forward in the video, it's actually pretty smooth. Which I was wondering if we took multiple photos of yourselves and had the videos.
Isn't it?
Lean forward.
Oh, there, yeah.
Still,
so real.
Yeah. That's the part. Yeah. I didn't know it did that intuitively. I think we tried multiple times to do this. So we made 5 clips and then picked the best one, and then a lot of these clips are recycled, so you can't actually tell. So I don't know because I left it in charge of the editor whether these are new clips every time or whether this is just the same clip over and over again. But you can't actually tell whether it is or not. And so for budget rise, obviously that's cheaper than every time making 5 clips. Your spend on Kling goes up rather than when you can just use 1 clip. So Bradley, do you want to finish your point and we'll go to Chris? Yeah.
When you put it into Kling, I don't actually use Kling.
Yeah.
You have to also support it with a prompt to make it say that you will be sat at the desk, it's like talking head video, or in terms of like when you
Yeah, so you give it a little bit of context and you say, and the most important thing is that my mouth is moving like I'm talking. Basically, that's what you're giving to it. Yeah. Chris, you want to go next?
I was very surprised by that. That seems like a lot better than the short form video you showed before. Like, is there a reason for that, or is that just my perception?
Yeah. It might just be the clip. It might just be that Kling has produced a better clip. Interestingly, some of the videos we experimented with Bite Seed, that new model from that came out from Seed Dance, the company that does TikTok. So if we go back to my channel, and so obviously I'm starting my channel from scratch. My subscriber count is slowly going up. So I can kind of experiment with this. There isn't that jarring or that expectation. I suppose I might feel differently about it had I already grown a channel to a significant following, and then suddenly I was going to shift to this content, I might feel maybe my audience might know or alienate them. I'm growing my audience from scratch, so yeah. But this one I think is Byte Seed. So we're talking about Dell, the security operator said something. Yeah.
Yeah,
but
So,
yeah, go for it. Yeah.
so how much time it took to produce that long YouTube, like the 3 minutes?
I think they take maybe about 15, 20 minutes. Oh no, sorry, the long form one. The long form one at the moment is taking my editor maybe like a day. It's taking a day's worth of work. So we're trying to reduce that time frame. Bearing in mind, she wasn't familiar with any of these AI tools. And she took the initiative and we said we'd like her to do this, and she agreed, and she's okay. Obviously, we would, want to reduce that to half a day, but it's still, if you think that I think the main thing is it takes none of my time, right? So I don't have to go to a studio, record it, liaise with the editor. It's just completely handed off to someone else, which is incredible. Please.
Are you giving her the script? Or?
Yeah, I'm giving her the script, but Claude is writing the script. So I'm just okay in the script. So Claude is looking at all my past reels and my videos and giving me ideas, and then I'm saying, okay, give me 20 ideas. Okay, I like that one. Now write the script, and I okay it and tweak it and send it to her. Yeah.
Do you have any tool for the thumbnails?
For the thumbnails, my editor is actually creating these with AI, but herself. So she's putting the text on with this one. I know Mr. Beast came out with a thumbnail tool, and then he took it down. But they're very easy to make. You can make these with yourself with the technology that exists already. So yeah.
This might be a little bit dystopian, but
Sure.
for somebody like myself that has a brand and has a bunch of voice clips of me out,
Yep.
a lot of photos of me, what kind of defense can I play against somebody who had malicious intent to just make a 5-minute video of me AI incriminating myself to a crime that I didn't commit?
Yeah. Well, I mean, crime rise. Obviously, you can prove that pretty easily. If you weren't in that place at that time, then that's quite easy. That's an interesting question. I would imagine if you asked YouTube to pull a video down because it was somebody impersonating you, that they would do it. Like, I would think so. If you could prove that it was you and you had a channel and someone else was just using your likeness, you could pull it down. I would think so. Yeah.
Do you have to disclose on air?
Funnily enough, no, they have not asked. There's not a box to tick or anything. We had this question, and no, there's no question. Yeah.
Isn't there like metadata control to see who uploaded the video and how it was created? Like if you went to Skype the video. So that question really comes to, I guess, a point of like, can you tell if a video has been generated by AI? That's really the question that you're kind of asking, right? So the answer is yes, you can. Like, all video models have a kind of a watermark, not a physical watermark, but a watermark encoded in it, so you could tell that it is. I think that was pioneered by Google. I think we asked Mix about it. Mix worked on VO1 one week, and that's what's going on. So you can definitely tell if in the back end if a video has been generated by AI or not. But your question is to like, okay, did we have to declare it? Well, no, there just wasn't a box to tick. I think there is on Instagram, on Meta, but on YouTube there wasn't. So we looked and thought, oh, we would declare it, right? We're not going to lie. But so the question, technologically, can you tell if something has been generated, if a video has been generated by AI? Yes. Remember, that's different for text. Remember, text, you can't tell definitively if something's been generated by AI, but with video you can. It's kind of been built into it. And then there's the question of, do you have to declare to the platform that it has, and to your viewers, and in this case, no. Go on, Rex. Yeah.
I just wanted to say, just when you're talking about the Claude there,
Sure.
and getting Claude to write the scripts.
Yeah.
I know I missed the one that I was excited about where you said people weren't interested in it actually, but the rag with the...
Yeah, did you go and watch it? It's available for you.
I haven't yet, but with your Notion and using Claude
Sure.
and using your Notion as rag, when you ask Claude, is it going to your Notion to look, or is it just on your thread of your part?
Yeah, that's a good question. At the moment it is just going from the project that I built with the kind of ideas there, but that's a good thing to do. You could use your Notion as RAG, as a database. What I would like to build out is an MCP bridge, so
it automatically collects the data from my YouTube, my audience figures, my content creation, pulls it into Notion, into a dashboard, and then that Notion is connected with an ID into my Claude project. So when I ask it to write a script, it just goes and calls that data and it's automatically updated. That would be the ideal way of doing it. I haven't quite got around to actually making that yet, but that's on my very long list of things to do to work on the weekend. Yeah.
Do you know how far off the OpenAI Notion connection is?
What do you mean, how far off? Like whether OpenAI will connect with Notion?
You're saying you connect your Claude to Notion. How far off is the OpenAI version?
I believe they do have an integration, but it's like an official one. It's not an MCP. You don't have to code anything. I think it's just one of the tools that you could select. Am I wrong? Is anyone? Yeah, it's right. It's one of the tools that you can select, I believe. So.
OpenAI with Notion.
Yeah. With ChatGPT, it's one of the tools you can select. The ChatGPT has like tools, but they're ones that they've pre-selected. The great thing about Claude is that anything with an MCP server that somebody's built, you can bring that into it. So if it's a couple of hours work, maybe an hour. If you're really smart about it, you ask Claude to write the JSON. You give it the GitHub repo, and you just change the config file in your Claude. ChatGPT doesn't yet have that ability. They said they're going to adopt it. It's coming soon. Okay, Lucian. Go. It certainly seems that way, yeah. Yeah. Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, so I will say two things to that. So what do I think about that? Like, is YouTube preferring AI-generated videos compared to other platforms? First of all, we have to caution that with one thing, which is these algorithms are black boxes. None of us work at YouTube, so we don't actually know how these work. So anyone that tells you the algorithm at the moment is preferring AI videos is talking out their ass. They don't know what they're talking about. They can't tell you that definitively for sure. Nobody really can. My thoughts, my opinion, okay, talking as somebody who doesn't work at YouTube, who doesn't know the algorithm, is that I wouldn't necessarily think that it's the AI generated aspect itself. I just think it's the fact that if you think when you're talking on a podcast, you're riffing and you're having this discourse, you're not necessarily always saying things which are necessarily going to be viral, which are going to get people's attention. I think it's the fact that the script has been written entirely by Claude, and then Claude has also thought of what should the thumbnail be, what should the title be. And I think that has a big impact, because when you go to a podcast and you cut it up, you don't always have that control over it. Even if you have scripted it and you sit there and you're recording it, you might not say it as confidently, you might not say it you might say it with more interruptions. I think all these things play into it, and I think the reason these are doing really well comparatively towards my other videos is because that they are just on point. The Claude is looking at all the other content I put out on YouTube and then splitting it up into different pieces. So, yeah. Sean, go ahead. Yeah. Oh, you can now? Yeah. Okay, amazing. Yeah, so they were saying they were going to do that for a while, so that's amazing. I didn't realise that they'd done that. Do you know when they did that? How long that's been available? Okay, cool. Yeah. So ChatGPT actively said that they are going to integrate with MCP. So it sounds like from Claude that now you can. Do you have to go through the same rigmarole that you do with Claude, where you have to change the config file and do a whole bunch of coding, or is it more straightforward? Yeah. 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 Okay, that's super cool. So yeah, now you don't have to be a Claude fanboy if you want to use MCP. Yeah. 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 So what? Sorry, what was the question? What was the question? Oh, okay, okay, interesting. Yeah, I will get back to you next week on that and feedback to you on that. I wasn't aware of that, so thanks, Sean, for that. Do you want to? Yes, yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Only because I see an audience as people that can recognize slight issues,
Sure.
cycle,
Mm.
What fascinates me is the fact that this can be indistinguishable.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if that will mean that it can compete with real content.
Yeah.
What do you think is the differentiator right now between what's real and what's not?
Yeah. So I have a different opinion. I think it depends what kind of content you're putting out. Not every piece of content you put out, not every content creator needs to be authentic in the way that you described. So the content I'm putting out is informational. It's designed to be consumed by CEOs, and it says, this is what you can do with AI. This is my thinking around why you should be doing these things with AI in your business. This is how you think about AI as a business. I don't see that needs to be authentic or relatable. It just needs to convey the information. It just needs to convey something of me. So the authenticity comes from the ideas. It comes from me playing with the concepts. You know, I've obviously told Claude, this is my business, this is my philosophy, this is what I think about. And some of you have heard that today, that I think AI needs to be something that enables businesses to scale and do more, rather than just be something that replaces it. You know, it knows that I prefer Claude over ChatGPT, small things like that. I think if you're doing other kind of content, we had Christian LeBlanc here the other week, and he was talking about travel content, and he doesn't think that AI is going to replace that. And I think that there's an authenticity that's needed for that, to go and explore a place, to feel it, to see it, that you might struggle to do with AI. So I really think it depends what vertical you're in and what you're doing. It'd be interesting to see for dating coaching, could it work? Because dating coaching is kind of informational as well, right? You're telling people, this is my philosophy about dating. This is the information you need to know. You know, about women or about men and how they work together. So yeah, but on the other hand, you know, I don't know your content. Maybe some of it is more relational. Maybe it's situational. Maybe some of these people that are talking about dating and relationships online, they're playing situations out with each other, or they're talking about things in their personal life. So I really think it depends what vertical, what type of content you're in. Did anyone else have any thoughts on this, Chris?
Yeah, I was going to say, as a response to Tristan's questions before, I do think we talked about this in a meeting a few weeks back, that a few of us, like including myself, think that it is going to be indistinguishable. But the counter to that is trusts in content's gone down, and I see it now in comments on social media all the time. People are mistaking real content for AI-generated content now. Yeah. So there's going to reach a point where we don't trust anything. And so I guess the defense for you, Tristan, is if there's an AI clone of you that says something, people will probably believe you if you say that that's a clone. Do you know what I mean? Whereas if this came out, you know, nobody knew about AI, then you'd be like, oh my God, that's him, you know? But like, I think people are just not going to trust anything online. And so that's like going to create other problems then, I guess, in terms of who do you trust, you know?
Yeah, do you think that this will have a knock-on effect on like sales on YouTube? Because I mean, a lot of the reason people build personal brands, they go on YouTube because they want to sell their services essentially, right? Or they want to share their information. They hope they build a relationship with someone, and then that person then ends up becoming a client or a customer, whether you're a fitness coach, a dating coach, coaching is very popular. Do you think that the people won't have a problem growing an audience, but people will have a problem converting their audience into sales because there'll be less trust there, or there are more steps that need to be gone through?
I think what I'm seeing in my industry is you can go ahead and outsource the information to AI,
Sure.
but you can't outsource the execution
Yeah.
to it. So especially with like a dating personal to personal, like it's going to be very awkward to have AI in your ear or AI on your phone. And you're like having a conversation, trying to go back and forth with somebody in a real live context. So as somebody who has built a brand, I see more in-person events coming at the rise of this because there's an actual element that you can't replicate with AI. So for anybody building personal brands, if you start to gear yourself towards in-person physical things and you can have an emotional connection with somebody on that side of that terrace, I think it's going to be very beneficial.
Sure, yeah. And that's one of the reasons I like this meetup as well, and I like running this meetup is, I have the AI side of content, and then I also get to meet people in real life as well. So definitely hear the argument that real in life meetings are going to become more important and more valuable. So yeah. Does anyone else have any last questions about this before we move on to some lead magnet stuff? Steve, yeah. Yeah. Sure. Yeah. So my policy is if someone asks me, I'll tell them, and I'll say yes, it is. But until that point, then I don't think you need to say it because I don't think it. For me, I don't think it's relevant, right? If it was relevant and loads of people were asking and saying, "Oh my God, this is AI generated," or it was having some kind of impact, then I would say yes, it is. Like I would never lie. But I don't see that it adds anything by me saying at the end, "Oh, this is AI." Like it doesn't add anything to the video. In fact, it might even dampen the just because people might be like, "Oh, you've spoiled the illusion for me now," right? Yeah.
If anything, I think it can benefit you because you're an AI consultant, and the fact that you can pull off a video that you can't distinguish kind of speaks to your skills as an AI person.
Sure. Yeah. There's definitely that element to it as well. Flo, did you want to say something? Yeah. Yeah, and also remember, if we're going to talk in terms of sales, which is kind of what we've been talking a little bit about tonight, this is the, how do you say, the start of the funnel, right? You're trying to get people's attention. Any cold email that's generated by AI, whether we're doing personal brand with YouTube, that's what we're trying to do, to get them to feel emotion. And so we're still managing to do that with AI. Please, Bradley, yeah.
Where I'm now building essentially an influencer, I try to go very, very deep into the characteristics of the influencer, even down to like emotional state, how they're born, how they're raised, their family. But I think that the most important thing in doing this is one, transparency in terms of what we're doing, was actually making sure that people understand this is an AI. I think the second thing is, even though the AI, the creative, is the output, the input still fundamentally starts with humans. So humans drive the story, and everything built off that is kind of from our personal experiences. We built up research based on what peer business we have in our markets and operations. But I think that's one thing. And I think on like a business use case, when dealing with influencers, because my agency, like we do deal with influencers, kind of having that creative control, kind of having that control, removing kind of that human aspect of influencer doesn't show up in fact, the content is shit, or actually we asked them to create something, we're now doing damage from that. Actually, the AI is really, really impressive in terms of that you can create huge amounts of content and actually flip on the head. The main thing you're doing is going through huge volumes of content, actually rejecting stuff, which comes out essentially as slop that isn't good enough. And I think that's like really interesting from a business use case, but in terms of the social aspect, like you can take something out of very, very different because you can create something which humans can replicate the human experience, but we're going through a period where like loneliness is like a huge epidemic. Many people, especially back then, with like 30s, 40s, don't have a best friend. We all live in Bali and West Africa is global. So I'm not saying for myself, I have a hit. You can start to see how these types of elements are starting to come in terms of socially and are very important.
Yeah, I would say one point to the business aspect I think is really, you've made a really interesting point, which is that there is a, if you're talking from a cold-hearted business point of view with no emotion, people get in the way, right? As you said, people are, the influence is late, the influencer is not on time. The influencer takes time to deliver the video. You have to have a back and forth with them. You have to think about how to manage them. And of course, at the click of a button, you can sort of make the AI yourself. Or indeed, you can hire someone to make these clips 24/7, or indeed build an NAN automation to just keep making them all day long. Alan, do you want to- please share it with the room, Alan. What do you really think?
With all due respect to all the influencers
Cheers.
here,
Yes.
to your amazing goal, would that be prevent people will be using less social media in the future because they will not believe the content?
I don't think necessarily there's an issue with social media. I just think there's like a fundamental issue with people not having access to connectivity. I think that comes from like a much deeper thing where there's like loneliness, like people might have that confidence. So there might be people who have a lot of really amazing experience, really amazing thoughts they want to share. They might not be confident to be able to put themselves on camera and be able to break them, because actually filming content one side when it's like perfectly curated is one thing, but then actually speaking in practice is a completely different thing. And I think actually AI is like very empowering. Like I said, I think a lot of it starts from like, I do think like the use cases like social media, people being on it too much is like very easy. But
I feel like I'm a very heavy user of AI, and like ever since like I integrated AI into my life more, I use social media less. And I think that will be the trend that will be following in the future.
I think it's kind of like there's good and there's bad with it, right? With everything that happens, and with AI as well, we solve one bunch of problems and then we create a whole multitude of new problems as well. And social media has an amazing capacity to bring people together to solve some of the problems you're talking about. I've met people through social media, made some amazing connections through it, and then met these people in person, people that I really admired from their content. And also you see some things that you don't like as well. And I've had those times, of course, as well, where you sit there and you're just doom scrolling through various nonsense content. So AI is obviously going to mean that we're going to have a larger volume of content. I don't necessarily think it's going to solve the problem either way, and I think it's just going to throw up more problems. Chris, you want to have the last word? Yeah.
What was the NAN? What's that abbreviation
Lucian, do you know the answer to this? It spans for something clever, doesn't it? It means something, the NAN. It basically, are you asking what it is or what does NAN stand for?
I mean, I typed NAN into Google and I think
N8N.
Oh, N8N.
Yeah, it's an automation software. Yeah. Sean, please. One more. Yeah. Okay, I'll go check it out. Yeah. Big. Is it? Are they on YouTube or are they only on Instagram? Okay. Yeah. So we'll just end. There's one more thing that I wanted to demo before we leave, and that is we have created for AI to the world a lead magnet. So. Let me just get this up. I'm going to the wrong place. So what is a lead magnet? Like a lead magnet is something that basically generates value for a business. So one minute while I find it. So what we've done is we were thinking about how do we create some kind of free incentive offer for people that visit our website for consulting. And so what we've done is we've created a free report that business can get. So a business can get a report that basically looks at their entire business and gives them an AI readiness score. So it basically they answer 5 questions. It scrapes their website, looks at all the detail that's on their website, and then it puts together a PDF in our brand colours that gives them traffic lights and essentially tells them, how far they're using AI. Like, are they only using ChatGPT for content? Could they be using a more sophisticated agent framework or something like this? So let me see if we can bring it up. Hang on.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So here we go. So this is the lead manual. So this is not live up on our site yet in our brand colours. So you answer this, you say, okay, complete this short survey to receive your personalised implementation plan. What percentage of outbound lead is AI assisted? So if you've got sales reps who are using AI, we'd say, okay, maybe like a quarter of them know how to use AI, and maybe they're using some Claude. Are you prospects still doing SDRs? Yep, always. How do teams create written content? So, well, they only use LLM suggestions only. They don't use, a bespoke in-house tool or custom GPTs. Do you generate infographics or reports? You do them all manually. Are repetitive workflows captured in SOPs? Maybe a couple are, maybe just the people on the staff know how to do them. How many hours a week are you spending writing docs, emails? Probably quite a lot. None of the employees have had prompt engineering training. Are you using AI to triage your emails? I know I'm guilty of sometimes not doing this and not staying on top of this and saying, well, partial auto responses. And what's the monthly budget you could allocate to an AI project? It's obviously important, so if they said that. And so then what you do is you put your name in, so I say Harry, and you put your email address, and notice you have to give a company address, so you can't give a Gmail address, and that's going to give us the URL. So we'll go and get your maturity score, so it generates it, so you have to wait while it generates it, and then it will also send you an email with a PDF as well. So this is an example of a lead magnet. This is something a value that you can offer upfront. And obviously what you're able to do now is rather than giving your time or giving something, you can use AI to be able to generate some value upfront. So thank you, it tells us, okay, your score is 18%. You got 13% for revenue and lead gen. And notice it's all color coded as well. So are you in the red, are you in the amber zone, or are you in the green zone? And then if I check my email, email.
Harry, the screen's gone again.
Yeah, I've just taken this off just just so I can find.
No problem. Sorry.
Yeah.
You want to see what's in his inbox?
Yeah, he's super curious.
Some of his chat history sometimes on Claude. So.
Yeah.
He's being smart. That's fine.
And it hasn't come through, so let me find. I'm gonna. Which is annoying. Let me find you the finished result. So I'm gonna cheat and. So this is the kind of thing that it creates. This is not the exact one because it hasn't necessarily come up. But you can see here, you can get a maturity score here, and we've also introduced a traffic lights system as well. So I'm looking at a wrong version here. But you can see it's a pretty comprehensive document. It's in our brand colors. And so what it does is it basically changes those values dependent on what the responses are and what data we get from the website. So you can see how, this is basically just a very basic NAN workflow in the back end. And we're going to activate this on our website in a few days' time.
What did you build this in?
NAN.
Oh, you built this in NAN?
Yep.
And
The questionnaire is a type form, and then it's an NAM workflow in the back end, which is passing the information into the template which we had a designer make. Did you want to ask a question about it? Typeform is the form that you see, and that's going to be the interface that's on our website. The back end is NAN with a template. So our designers made this template, and then we've got variables in there, so it can collect the information and change them. Yeah. Sure. No, the template was designed by our graphic designer. So yeah, and then the variables are just switched in and out depending on the questions that people ask. Chris, go for it.
then similar to Make?
Yeah, it's a similar concept. It's just a bit more, I'd say, a bit more complex in some of the things that you can do with it, and it's also open source as well, so which makes it sort of simpler. Yeah, go for it. Yeah.
I guess I have a question about leads.
Please, yeah.
Where do you get these leads? Is it like Google Ads? How do people visit your website?
Sure, yeah. So they would visit our website through cold email. So cold email is our preferred method of choice. So we're using AI to write essentially, hundreds of emails every day based on whatever criteria we feel like. So in this case, we're doing a campaign at the moment where we're looking for anyone who's hiring. So anyone who's hiring for a job, be that a writer, an SDR, we're then using that data point to go and do some research on the company using AI, to look at their site, look at how they are actually doing business, and then from there we're actually sending them an email. If they fit our ICP, we score them. If they fit what we want, then we send them a highly personalized message, essentially. And that does work. This is how we've managed to generate leads before.
What website do you use to find them?
Use Clay, and then you can also scrape various job boards as well. So if there's whatever job board is out there, you can use it. You can bring that data into Clay, and you can use AI to build on top of that. So it's a very powerful tool. And then we use that to send emails. And then when we send the emails out, of course, if people are interested in knowing more, they're obviously going to go to our website. So you can use that. We're also going to use this as a campaign message as well, saying like, are you just curious? Have you used AI? Why not check out our website and get a free report, and you can see how your business is doing. And then if a business is curious and interested, they might well do that. It's free, and they'll get some idea of it anyway. I'll see there's kinds of questions that we would ask. Of course, something like that isn't as comprehensive as me going to the site and interviewing them and questioning them for 2 days and speaking with all the relevant stakeholders. But it's a start. They're going to get some picture, and they're going to get a very visual representation of where they are on their AI journey. Yeah. Does anyone else have any more questions about the lead magnet? Sure. That's a really smart idea, yeah. As we start doing this and doing this, if we get thousands and thousands of people doing this, then we've got a huge data set as well. So not only is it a great thing not only is that data set really great for ourselves, it's also a great data set within itself. It's data that we're going to be able to see the bigger picture of like, okay, what are businesses doing? How much do they know about AI? Where are they? In their journey, and how much further along do they have to go? So from a political, economic point of view as well, it's also really, fascinating data, particularly if you could get a big data set, and if you could target just one region. Our main region we're targeting is the Middle East. Yeah.
You said another abbreviation was like SDR or something?
Yeah, so an SDR is a sales development representative. It's a junior salesperson in an organization. And so that person would usually be manually going out, making phone calls, writing emails, doing research themselves. So in the pre-AI era, this is the main way that people would be getting leads for their business. They would have a team of SDRs, and their job would be to try to reach, ramp up and reach volume of about 50 messages every day. Yeah. Well, does anyone else have any more questions before we wrap up? If we're out of time. Sure, please. Yeah, we had that last week. We'll get it back, I think, the next week. We're working on a more professional setup for the mics and for the video cameras, so we've got some meetings coming up this week. But it is obviously a challenge because we've changed venue, we've got so many amazing people, and we've moved out of the other room, so it's a bit more challenging than it was there. So we're still trying to figure out the format. We may well change the format as well slightly next week. I think that's what we're going to be doing. So there'll be some updates from that on the group if you want to, keep in the loop with the group. Yep. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Feedback noted. Try and work on that. It's obviously not perfect because this is only the second week that we've done this. Yep.
And I love the new announcement group because then there's 2 different versions.
Right.
Exactly,
yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I realise that. So we've set that up. So do feel free to join that. It's read only. So if you're not interested in reading some of the stuff that's on the other group, which is sometimes a bit difficult for me to moderate, join the read-only group, and you'll get announcements on when the meetup is next on. So I hope you all found that valuable and useful. Of course, yeah, you're welcome to reach out to me on LinkedIn or WhatsApp. I do my best to try to answer some messages. And there is there is now an announcements group and a general WhatsApp group as well. So I'll put that up on the screen, and I'll put my LinkedIn profile up on the screen as well for people that want to follow me on LinkedIn. But thank you all for coming.
Top of my hour. Yeah.
I think there might be some value in